They say your first love never truly leaves you. I used to believe that was romantic. Now, I see it for what it really is. A curse. My name is Rayan, and the woman I thought I'd spend my life with, Elara, was my best friend since we were kids. We were inseparable. From scraped knees to school dances, she was always there. And somewhere between childhood dares and teenage confessions, I fell for her. Completely, stupidly, irreversibly. But Elara? She loved the idea of being loved. She loved my jealousy, my desperate attempts to keep her close. Whenever another guy looked her way, she'd glance at me just to see the flicker of hurt in my eyes. She fed on it. She mistook devotion for entertainment, and I was too blind to see it. Years passed, and I stayed. I stayed through her flings, her flirtations, her manipulations. I stayed because I thought she'd choose me in the end, that somehow all that pain would be worth it. But one day, I did something she never expected. I left. And not just left. I married someone else. Someone kind. Someone who didn't make love feel like a war zone. Now, Elara's name flashes across my phone again. After years of silence. After everything she did. She never thought I'd move on. She never thought I'd stop playing her game. But I did. And that's when her real breakdown began. This is the story of how love turned into poison, and how walking away was the only antidote I ever had the courage to take. I met Elara when I was 5 years old. She had scraped her knee climbing the jungle gym at the park, and I offered her half of my mango candy to stop her from crying. She took the candy, stopped crying, and smiled at me like I was some kind of hero. That was it. From that moment on, we were inseparable. We grew up in a quiet neighborhood where everyone knew everyone. Our parents were friends, so we were always around each other. Birthdays, school runs, vacations. We even had matching bicycles once, hers with pink tassels, mine with flame decals. She used to race me, cheat by starting early, and then mock me when I lost. I didn't mind. I liked seeing her laugh. Elara was magnetic. People were drawn to her. Boys, girls, teachers, neighbors. She had that wild, unpredictable spark that made you want to chase her, even if it burned. And me? I was the quiet one, the safe one. The boy who'd carry her books, wait outside her dance class, and pretend not to care when she texted other boys late at night. I didn't realize it back then, but Elara needed attention like oxygen. She loved knowing she was wanted, and I was always there, proving it. Every jealous look I gave when another guy flirted with her only fed her ego. She'd smile at me like, "See? You still care." And I did. God, I did. Our relationship was never official. Not really. We kissed once in high school, during a blackout at a party. She said it didn't mean anything, but I held on to it for years, like it was sacred. That was Elara's power. She could make crumbs feel like a feast. She dated others, slept with some, but she always came back to me when they hurt her or bored her. I was the constant, the emotional crutch she leaned on, and I mistook that dependency for love. Then there was Mira. Mira transferred to our college in second year. Soft-spoken, intelligent, the kind of girl who didn't need chaos to feel alive. We were just friends at first, but when Elara left for Europe with some guy she barely knew, Mira was the one who saw me breaking silently. She patched me up with late-night talks and steady kindness. Still, I clung to Elara's memory like a religion. Mira knew it. She never pushed. She just waited. Looking back now, I realize how much of my life was orbiting someone who never saw me as the center of hers. Elara was my sun. Blinding, burning, impossible to touch without getting scorched. Mira was the moon. Calm, constant, quietly pulling me out of the tides I didn't know were drowning me. But it took losing everything to finally see the difference. It happened on a rainy Tuesday. Elara had been gone for nearly 8 months, chasing yet another spontaneous adventure with a man twice her age, a photographer she met at an exhibit. She didn't say goodbye, just vanished, like always. That's how she operated, and somehow, every time, I still waited. That day, I was walking across campus with Mira, sharing her umbrella. We weren't dating, not officially, but there was something gentle and unspoken between us. We were laughing about something stupid, a meme she'd sent me that morning when I saw her. Elara, standing under the university archway like she belonged there, like she hadn't disappeared for most of the year. Soaking wet, her eyeliner running, dressed in some floral dress that looked more Paris than local weather. And when her eyes locked with mine, it was like nothing had changed. She ran to me, hugged me before I could say a word, acted like she hadn't ghosted me for months. Mira stepped aside quietly, but I saw the flicker in her eyes. Pain, confusion, retreat. "Elara," I whispered, stunned. "What are you doing here?" "I missed you," she said, clinging to me like it was the most natural thing in the world. I realized I made a mistake. "You're the only one who's ever been real." I should have pushed her away. Should have told her that she couldn't just reappear and expect things to fall into place. But old habits die hard, and Elara knew exactly how to pull me back in. She turned to Mira then. "Oh," she said with a half-smirk, "did I interrupt something?" Mira didn't answer. She just smiled, polite and distant, and walked away. And just like that, the line between past and present blurred. I stood between two women, one who broke me and one who held me together, and made the worst possible choice. I followed Elara, not because I loved her more, but because I hated that she could still walk in and command my heart like that. Because I wanted her to suffer the same confusion, the same fear of being replaced. But I didn't know then. Elara had no fear of losing me, until she actually did. The days after Elara's return were a blur of confusion, guilt, and misplaced hope. She started texting me again like nothing had happened, sending selfies of her morning coffee, asking if I remembered our favorite taco place, even slipping me old inside jokes like they still meant something. And like an idiot, I played along. I told myself I was just being polite, that I owed her some kind of closure. But deep down, I think I wanted her to hurt the way she made me hurt all those years. So I ignored Mira. Or worse, I strung her along, replied late, canceled plans, became someone she didn't recognize. And still, she never complained. She'd just look at me with that quiet sadness that said everything she didn't. Elara, on the other hand, was louder than ever. She made a spectacle of our reunion, grabbing my hand in public, tagging me in old photos online, whispering things like, "God, I forgot how good we were together," whenever we were alone. And I let her. Because, for once, I was the one in control. I had the attention she used to dangle like a prize, and I was going to make her feel it. We weren't sleeping together. Not yet, but the tension was back. That toxic electric tension that had always defined us. One moment we were laughing like kids again. The next she was accusing me of drifting too far, of being too distant, of changing. "Elara," I said one night, sitting on the old swings behind my building, "what exactly do you want from me?" She looked at me with those sharp green eyes, tilted her head, and smirked. "You. The real you. The one who used to chase me down and get jealous over every guy I smiled at." I gave a bitter laugh. "And what do I get in return?" Her smile faded. "Me? But I never really had you, did I?" That silenced her. For the first time, she didn't have a clever comeback. Meanwhile, Mira started pulling away. She stopped waiting for me after class. Stopped texting first. One night, I saw her sitting with another guy, one of our classmates, Rafi. She was laughing. Not the polite kind. The real kind. The kind that used to be mine. That night, I texted her. Me. We need to talk. Mira. About what? Me. About us. She didn't respond until the next morning. Mira. What us, Ayan? I stared at that message for what felt like hours. Elara noticed I was distracted. She thought it was because of her. You're pulling away again, she accused. You always do that when things start getting real. No, Elara, I snapped. I pull away when I realize I'm not a person to you. I'm just a mirror you use to admire yourself. That struck a nerve. Her face hardened. If I'm so toxic, why are you still here? Because I didn't know who I was without her. That was the truth. I had wrapped so much of my identity around loving her that the idea of letting go felt like amputation. But Mira's message haunted me. That cold distance, that finality. That night, I sat on my balcony, staring at the city lights, wondering what the hell I was doing. Was I trying to win back Elara? Or punish her by pretending I already had? And where did that leave Mira, who never played games, who never made me question my worth, who never needed me to bleed for her affection? The answer was obvious. I just wasn't brave enough to act on it yet. Not until the wedding invitation arrived. The wedding invitation came in a pale blue envelope with gold lettering. It wasn't mine. Not yet. It was Mira's. She was getting married. Not to Rafi, surprisingly, but to a guy named Zayn, someone she'd met through her cousin. A doctor. Steady, grounded, and, according to the brief caption on her engagement photo, her peace. My stomach dropped. I stared at the card like it had been written in another language. Mira was getting married. Mira, who used to wait for me with coffee in hand. Mira, who once cried quietly beside me when Elara left me shattered. Mira, who never demanded anything from me except honesty, something I never had the courage to give her. And now she is gone. Moved on. Let go. That was the moment it hit me. Not just what I had lost, but what I had done. I had been so obsessed with proving something to Elara, with reclaiming power over the girl who used to toy with my heart, that I missed the one person who saw me clearly and still chose me. I treated Mira like a backup plan, as if she'd always be there when I was done playing house with my heartbreak. But love doesn't wait forever. Elara came over that night, noticing the card still on my kitchen table. She picked it up casually, read it, then froze. "She's getting married?" she asked, voice sharp. "Yeah," I said quietly. She looked at me. "And you didn't tell me?" "It's not your business anymore, Elara." She went silent. In that silence, something shifted. For the first time, Elara wasn't the one in control. I wasn't chasing her. I wasn't burning for her approval. And it terrified her. After Mira's wedding invitation, something in Elara snapped. She started showing up unannounced, making scenes in public, holding my hand tighter like she could squeeze the past back into the present. She became paranoid, clingy, checking my phone when she thought I wasn't looking, asking questions she never cared about before. "Are you still in love with her?" she asked one night while we sat in my apartment, a movie playing in the background, long forgotten. "I don't know," I said honestly. The silence that followed was suffocating. She didn't scream, didn't cry, just stood up, walked to the window, and stared out into the night. I thought I had more time," she whispered. "You always came back to me." That line. You always came back to me. It wasn't a confession. It was a habit she'd gotten used to. Like I was a favorite song she could pause and resume at will. "You don't get to be surprised, Elara," I said. "You left me, over and over. You treated me like a backup option. What did you think would happen?" She turned to me then, her face pale, but her eyes burning. "I thought you'd wait. Because you always did. Because I mattered. You mattered, I admitted, but I stopped mattering to myself, and that's where I draw the line. But drawing the line didn't mean moving on was easy. I started seeing Mira everywhere, in the quiet cafes she loved, in the parks we used to walk through, in every song that played in my car. I wondered if she missed me, if her laughter with Zion was the same, if she still thought of me when it rained. I began drafting a letter. I didn't know if I'd send it. It wasn't to win her back. I knew I had no right to ask for that, but I needed her to know that I saw her now, that I had been blind, selfish, and scared. But I understood what she gave and how I threw it away. Elara found the letter. She wasn't supposed to be at my apartment. She still had the spare key from last year, and I'd forgotten to take it back. I came home to find her sitting on my couch, the letter on her lap, her eyes red but dry. "So this is it?" she asked. I didn't pretend to misunderstand. "Yes, it is." She laughed bitterly. "You were never supposed to choose someone else. That wasn't the game." "That's the problem, Elara," I said, feeling strangely calm. "You thought love was a game." Her expression cracked then. She looked smaller, more vulnerable than I'd ever seen her. "I don't know how to be alone," she admitted. "I don't know who I am if no one's chasing me." The words hit hard, because once, that was me too. Chasing, hoping, defining myself by who I could convince to stay. I sat beside her, gently took the letter from her hands and said, "Then it's time you figure it out. Without me." She didn't argue, didn't cry. She just nodded, stood, and left quietly. That was the last time Elara was in my apartment. The days after felt surreal. I didn't go to Mira's wedding. I didn't reach out. I didn't send the letter. I let the silence sit and grow and shape me. I started going to therapy, started writing again, started rebuilding the parts of myself I'd hidden beneath years of obsession and regret. I realized that I'd never truly loved Elara, not in a healthy way. I was addicted to the feeling of wanting her, of being wanted by someone so elusive, so magnetic. It was never about compatibility. It was about the chase. Mira had been my opposite, still, patient, kind, and I had mistaken her steadiness for something boring. I only recognized its value when it was too late. And yet, there was peace in the acceptance. One evening, months later, I ran into Elara again. She was standing in line at a bookstore, holding a novel I had once recommended to her years ago. She saw me and smiled, tired but genuine. "I read your latest post," she said, "the one about letting go of mirrors." I nodded. "It was about you." "I know." We stood there for a moment in silence. "I'm seeing someone," she added, almost cautiously. "He's stable. Good for me." "That's good, Elara." "And you?" "I'm getting to know myself," I said. "For once." She looked at me like she didn't quite recognize me. And maybe she didn't. The version of me that had always chased her was gone. When she left the store, I felt no ache, no pull, no jealousy, just release. Later that week, I received a small envelope. No sender name, just a date and an address. Mira's wedding had been postponed. Her cousin told me Zion got a last-minute offer to relocate abroad, and they were working through things. I didn't take it as a sign, just a coincidence. But for the first time, I felt like if I ever did see Mira again, it would be with clarity, not confusion. Respect, not desperation. Love, if it came again, would be earned, never begged for. The sky was gray that afternoon. Rain threatened, but never came. I stood outside the small art gallery downtown, staring at the banner that read, "Private Showcase," featuring Mira N. I hadn't planned on coming. I only knew about it because Samira, a mutual friend, had mentioned it in passing. Mira was showcasing her first solo exhibit, photographs she'd taken over the past 2 years. I didn't know what I was hoping for. Maybe closure, maybe just a glimpse of the person I once could have built a future with. As I stepped inside, the soft hum of acoustic music greeted me. The space smelled of fresh paint and old wood. People moved slowly between framed photographs, landscapes, city streets. Sunlight caught mid-fall on glass windows, but what stopped me in my tracks was a series of 6 photos titled "Stillness Between Storms." Each one had Mira in them, only partially. Her reflection in a train window, her shadow stretched across a hallway, her silhouette behind a lace curtain. In every image she was there, and not there. Present, but unreachable. My chest tightened. "You came!" Her voice. I turned. She stood there in a deep green dress, simple and elegant, her hair pulled back loosely. Her eyes met mine with something softer than surprise, more like acceptance. "I didn't want to intrude," I said quietly, "but I saw the invite." "I sent it," she replied. For a second, I couldn't speak. "I heard about the wedding being postponed," I said finally. I wasn't sure if I should say anything. "It wasn't postponed," she said, folding her arms. "It was canceled." The word landed like a thunderclap. "What happened?" She exhaled. "Zion's a good man, but he wasn't you, and that scared me more than I thought it would." I didn't know whether to feel hope or guilt, maybe both. "Mira," I said, stepping closer, "I owe you more than an apology. I owe you the truth." She looked up at me, eyes calm but wary. I was in love with the idea of Elara, the pain, the pursuit. It made me feel alive, but it was selfish. I kept you close because you were comfort, warm, and I used that to numb myself. "I know," she said, not unkindly. "You knew?" "Of course. I wasn't blind. I just hoped one day, maybe, you'd see me the way I saw you." The weight of her words hit me like a delayed wave. My throat tightened. "And now?" "Now?" She glanced around at the gallery. "Now I see myself, without needing someone to look at me first." Tears pricked the corners of my eyes, not because I lost her, but because she finally found herself. "I came today not to win you back," I said, "but because I needed you to know, if I could go back, I'd do it differently. I wouldn't just choose you, I'd earn you." A silence hung between us, heavy, honest. She stepped closer, eyes searching mine. "Do you still love her?" "Elara?" I shook my head. Number I loved being wanted by someone I could never truly have. That wasn't love. It was ego. "And me?" I didn't hesitate. "You were the only one I ever truly loved. I just didn't know how to love you back when it mattered." She smiled then, sad but beautiful. "I don't know what the future holds, Rayan. I'm not promising anything, but thank you for finally saying what I waited years to hear." "I don't need promises," I said. "Just this moment, and the chance to walk beside you, even if it's only as someone who sees you now." She looked down, then back at me. "Walk with me?" she asked. And just like that, we stepped out of the gallery into the cloudy waiting sky. It didn't rain. Time moved on, as it always does, but something in me had changed permanently after that day with Mira. We didn't start dating again. Not immediately. There were no dramatic declarations or overnight reconciliations. Just 2 people walking through a quiet afternoon, both finally honest, with each other, and, more importantly, with themselves. She needed space. I understood that. We met for coffee occasionally, not as exes chasing something old, but as companions exploring something new. Every conversation was like rebuilding trust, one brick at a time. No rushing, no expectations, just presence. And as Mira healed, so did I. I stopped romanticizing pain, stopped believing that love only meant chaos, jealousy, or the thrill of being needed. I finally realized real love isn't about being consumed. It's about being seen, without performance. And for too long, I had performed for Elara's attention, thinking if I danced hard enough, she'd choose me. That wasn't love. That was an addiction, dressed in nostalgia. I also understood something else, something harder to admit. I had hurt Mira not just by chasing someone else, but by undervaluing the rare stillness she offered me. Her loyalty wasn't loud, her love wasn't flashy, but it was consistent, healing, safe. And I mistook safety for boredom. That's the trap so many of us fall into, isn't it? We equate drama with passion. We think the person who keeps us guessing must be the one worth suffering for. But sometimes, the real magic lies in the one who never made us question our worth. Elara eventually moved away. I heard through Samira that she was doing better. She was seeing a therapist, starting a small business, even volunteering at a school for troubled teens. I felt no bitterness, only a distant warmth for someone I once knew deeply. Whatever pain we caused each other, it had finally settled into something more manageable. Memory. As for Mira and me, something beautiful started blooming again, slowly and silently. I never asked for another chance. She never promised me one. But with time, we started to trust that what we were building now wasn't just a rewrite of the past. It was something entirely different. Sometimes we'd walk without speaking, and even that silence felt full. There was no need to fill the air with declarations. We were learning to be two whole people, side by side, not halves trying to complete each other. The boy I used to be, the one so consumed by Elara's attention, the one who thought jealousy was proof of love, I barely recognized him anymore. He lived in an old chapter of my story, and I'd finally turned the page. Looking back, I don't regret loving Elara. That love taught me what not to accept. It showed me my shadow, but I thank Mira for staying, for walking away when she needed to, and for never letting my indecision turn her into someone bitter. We're all a little messy, a little broken, but if we're lucky, we meet someone who sees through the cracks and doesn't try to fix us, just sits with us until we learn how to hold ourselves. That's who Mira became for me, and slowly, I'm becoming that for her too. Sometimes, I still catch myself staring out a window, wondering how different things might have been if I'd chosen differently. But those moments no longer sting. They're quiet reminders of how far I've come. I was once a man trapped between jealousy and longing, chasing shadows that promised love but delivered only pain. I thought I needed to be wanted to be worthy. I thought love was a battlefield, a game of who could hurt more. But love, real love, is not a game. It doesn't thrive on jealousy or obsession. It grows in quiet spaces, in trust built slowly, in the courage to be vulnerable without fear. Mira taught me that, not through grand gestures or fiery arguments, but simply by staying true to herself, even when I wasn't ready to see it. Elara was my storm, the whirlwind that tore through my life, leaving destruction in its wake. She taught me what passion looks like, but also what it costs. And now, after all the chaos and heartbreak, I've found something I never knew I was missing: peace. Love isn't about possession or control. It's about freedom. Freedom to be flawed, to make mistakes, and still be accepted. I still remember the nights when jealousy burned in my chest, when I feared losing the only person I thought could love me. But now, I understand. Losing someone isn't always the end. Sometimes, it's the beginning of finding yourself. So here I stand, no longer running or chasing, Not because I'm resigned, but because I finally know my worth. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough.